This is Factual America. I'm your host, Matthew Sherwood. Each week I watch a hit documentary and then talk with the filmmakers and their subjects.
All my life I want to be the biggest loser. Work me till the day I die.
The Netflix docuseries, Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser, tells the story of the hit reality TV show in which obese participants competed against each other to shed the most weight. Award-winning director Skye Borgman joins us to examine a show that 20 years later raises a lot more questions than it answers. What does it mean to truly help people transform their lives while also entertaining us at home? All at a time when obesity rates continue to skyrocket.
Being on The Biggest Loser is just like winning the lottery.
Whoever loses the most weight wins $250,000. More than 10 million people watched the finale. It was huge.
To see us in a gym yelling, screaming, that's good TV.
This is what America thinks is healthy and safe.
Skye Borgman, welcome back to Factual America. How are things with you? And great to have you on again.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back. I love coming on this podcast.
Well, it's very nice of you to say that. It's been about almost exactly 3 years, and man, you've been busy in that time period, I would say. But just to remind our listeners and viewers, we are going to be talking about Fit for TV, the reality of the biggest loser. It's been streaming on Netflix since August 15th. And yes, congratulations on yet another great doc, and it must be a great relief to have this one in the can and out there in front of everyone.
It is. This documentary series, especially for me, was a little bit different than most of the series that I do, and it was really actually pretty fun to work on. I mean, speaking with all the contestants of The Biggest Loser and people who I had seen on the show or sort of remembered because I'd watched the show The Biggest Loser here and there when it was on television. Right. And so it was really great to meet some of those people again.
Okay. Well, yes, and thanks again for coming on. And for some of us, like I feel watching this, and I could tell it must have been a lot of fun to watch. To make, sorry. But it's also a lot of fun to watch. I feel like I was living under a rock because I wasn't all that familiar with The Biggest Loser, believe it or not. But I'm sure many of our audience will be. But for those who aren't, well, before we even get into that, maybe you can tell us what your doc's about. So Fit for TV, The Reality of Biggest Loser, maybe give us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, so it's a 3-part series, and it's on Netflix. And we go back and we talk to the contestants who were part of a reality TV show that started in 2004 called The Biggest Loser. And it was a pretty long-running reality competition weight loss series. Right. The premise is you bring a bunch of people on who are overweight and see who can lose the biggest percentage of body fat. And they go through various different competitions, like the physical challenges. They completely restrict their calories. And so there's a lot of challenges that they do. And at the end of that show, whoever lost the biggest percentage of body weights wins $250,000. So our series takes a look at that show and some of the practices that it took.
Being seen as a person and not just a body is much rarer for fat people.
Well, we're big.
Biggest Loser was the best thing that ever happened to us.
It was.
We were not looking for people who were overweight and happy.
I'm a secret eater.
We were looking for people who were overweight and unhappy.
Maybe it would fix my marriage. Maybe it would fix me.
I'll do anything to be on your show. The Biggest Loser!
They were really reinforcing the stereotypes.
People like making fun of fat people.
And producers love that.
It's a pretty dark show when you look back at it. It's funny because there aren't any real bombshells. Like there isn't this great, like, oh, this happened and nobody knew about it.
Right.
It really is kind of looking at the show through the lens of a 2025 lens, right?
Right.
And the show happened in the early aughts at the very beginning of reality TV. And so what they did to some of the contestants, the shaming, the blaming, and really just sort of taking them through the ringer to get to this weight loss, and really this like made for TV kind of stuff, right? Nothing was really realistic. Like nobody would enter into some of these circumstances in their everyday life. Like they'd never be surrounded by a room full of donuts in their everyday life. But really sort of lifting the veil a little bit and kind of going, who are we as a culture? What were we doing then? Because let's face it, I mean, millions of people watched it. It wouldn't have stayed on TV for 17 seasons if we hadn't watched it. How do we view these people? How do we make fun of these people? And why did a show like this have the success that it had?
Okay. So as you say, it was it's successful, massive sensation, ran for, I think on NBC it was like 17 years. I think it may even still be running in some form or fashion. Winners became minor celebs, right? I mean, what made it so compelling for us?
Funny, because I asked a few people while I was making it who had been watchers of The Biggest Loser, and I had watched it a little bit. I'd watched some of the episodes. I knew about it. I knew the trainers, and I had watched it because I felt that the stories were pretty inspiring to see these people lose such massive amounts of weight. And everybody I talked to said the same thing. They found it inspiring. And from the beginning, I always thought that this series was a series about our relationships to our bodies, right?
Right.
Everybody on the planet has a relationship to their body. And so there was a connection. And I think people looked at the contestants on this show and aspired to be able to change their bodies in a significant way.
Okay. And as you say, I mean, it's inspiring stories, and what is there not to like? They're taking control of their lives, right? With good old-fashioned hard work in many cases. And, it all seems good, right? But as you have already mentioned, as maybe is often the case with reality TV, it can be far from reality. So what the reality was far different, wasn't it? Or I guess, does it depend on who you're speaking to?
Depends a little bit on who you're speaking to, but I would say the reality is far different. I would say that the majority of these contestants, while they did have great success, they lost a huge amount of body weight and body fat, but also body muscle. But they weren't really learning how to be healthy. They weren't put into any kind of healthy circumstances. And many, many, many of the contestants that we talked to walked away from that reality show with a lot of trauma and a lot of PTSD. And while maybe they had lost a lot of weight, some of them gained it back. But more than that, they really came away feeling like they had been shamed and demoralized on the TV show.
You'll feel sick, you'll cry, you'll puke. We move on.
They were like, we want them to puke. We want the madness of it all.
I was given a caffeine pill.
My organs were literally shutting down.
You can't have a show based on weight loss that's safe.
I could barely walk, and I was in such pain. And they said, just walk it off, just walk it off.
I would never put anyone in harm's way.
Right. And as you say, there's no bombshells here. We don't have any really spoiler alerts per se, but at least one contestant almost died, right? Some swear by it, right? I think you've got everyone on there, a wide range of viewpoints. Some are described it as transformative and still swear by it. But one contestant in particular almost died. Others have spilt the beans about some of the techniques and what was being done behind the scenes. I mean, I guess I'm kind of cutting ahead of myself, but is that kind of also, do we have the benefit of being here in 2025, looking back and saying, well, obvious, it's reality TV. It is scripted, isn't, and at the time, were we maybe just a little bit naive?
I think all of that is true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it really goes to sort of looking at this with our lens and how we have evolved somewhat in our thinking about bodies and body shapes and sizes. And while I think that today, looking back at The Biggest Loser, it's really easy to shake your finger and to say, no, we shouldn't be doing that. And we shouldn't. We absolutely shouldn't be shaming people, working them out to an extent where they're throwing up, putting them on a beach, the first outing, making them run a mile marathon in the sand. That's the instance where we almost have a death on the show. It's a harrowing moment for one of the contestants. Just the workouts, the extremism of these workouts. It's not a healthy way to be. But looking at it now, we go, no, this absolutely couldn't happen today. But I would argue that we still have these notions and we still judge people based on their body size, based on their body weight. And contestants that we talk to and other people, experts that we talk to as well, still feel that gaze on them, still feel that negative way that they're looked at, still feel almost invisible in the world and laughed at and mocked. So while I think we have come a long way, and certainly in programming and television, people are much more careful, but as a culture, as a society, I do think that there's still a long way to go in terms of how we treat people and see people as people first. And that, I think we've still got some distance to travel.
The shame being a failure after being a success.
Why didn't anybody let me know that I could have just ruined my life?
I think there's a bit of PTSD. You tell me one show that's actually changed people's lives the way The Biggest Loser has, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and before actually asking you some more questions related to that, I guess get back to this, back to the show at the time. I mean, the other issue being is how much of this was based on any sort of hard science, right? I mean, was there health? I mean, I know there is I said I was living under a rock and I didn't really watch it, but at the same time, as soon as all these people come on the screen, I recognized them all, right? I recognized the trainers, and I, like Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels, and I recognize, well, for various reasons, Dr. Huizenga and others, But, this, like you say, not based on any sort of reality, just ridiculously low caloric intakes. I mean, what were they doing? Working out at least 8 hours a day? They were completely taken out of their normal lives and told this is the way you do it. It's like a boot camp for rapid weight loss, which was well, I think that's the other thing. It comes out none of these people had backgrounds in counseling. We don't need to go into the details. Your film does it for us. I mean, in terms of the stuff about how it may have been affecting metabolism, and it certainly wasn't helping people for the most part. I mean, I guess we can say, almost everyone gains the weight back, don't they?
Yeah, and it's interesting because that's kind of the story with weight loss in general. I mean, I think that most people gain the weight back who've lost large amounts of weight. And so I think there's a lot of exploration that can still happen and why that's the case and what needs to happen. I mean, look, there is science that backs this, right? It's like if you are in calorie deficit, you will lose body weight. That could be muscle, that could be fat, right?
Right.
There's science there. But there's a lot more science that could be happening in terms of like, how are we getting to this point? How are we gaining it back? Why are we gaining it back? Is it, how much muscle are we losing when we're in such a calorie deficit? I mean, I think that certainly if you're working out 8 hours a day and you're only eating 800 or 1,000 or 1,200 calories a day, you're going to be in such a calorie deficit.
Right.
You're going to lose weight. We know this, right? So that's the real question, is that more of the psychology that really wasn't a part of the show, nor honestly, the diet was never really part of The Biggest Loser, because let's face it, what's interesting to watch is people working out, collapsing, throwing up, screaming at each other. I mean, that's what makes good TV. So that's where this TV show, The Biggest Loser, and the quality of providing people with healthy lifestyles or healthy alternatives, those two things, they just don't quite mesh.
Okay. I think this is a good time to take an early break for our viewers and listeners. So we'll be right back with Skye Borgman, the director of Fit for TV, the reality of The Biggest Loser, streaming on Netflix since August 15th. And while you're at it, why not subscribe or follow us? Please turn on your notifications to make sure you never miss one of our episodes. We'll be right back.
Factual America is brought to you by Alamo Pictures, a London-based production company specializing in feature documentaries, factual television, and shorts about the U.S. Benefiting from an outsider's keen eye and years of stateside experience, Alamo's filmmakers explore topical, uniquely American stories from a sympathetic European perspective. The result is engaging cinema and television that defies stereotypes and helps audiences truly understand what makes America tick. Check out Alamo's website at alamopictures.co.uk to be the first to hear about new productions, festivals showing Alamo's films, and to connect with the team. Now back to Factual America.
Welcome back to Factual America. I'm here with Skye Borgman, award-winning director of Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser, streaming on Netflix, since August 15th. So we've been talking about, obviously, The Biggest Loser and, a lot of the looking back at it upwards of 20 years later. But one thing that struck me watching the 3 episodes is that, and probably I do mean this as a compliment, so just phrase that, the documentary raises a lot more questions than it answers, I feel like, and in a good way, right? Because, I mean, you've got the definitive Biggest Loser doc, so no one needs to worry about that. But, so I guess looking at it in various different ways, and without, like, victim blaming or anything, what were the contestants thinking when they, decided to put themselves out there in front of million, like the finales would have 10 million viewers, right? Something like that. What were they thinking?
I think it's a very individual question for each of the contestants, but overall, I think that the timing of this show is important too. This is the beginning of reality TV. So now we kind of have an idea of what people are going through. It wasn't the first show on reality TV, but it was in 2004, and this reality boom really happened right around then in the early 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s. So I don't know that they necessarily at the very beginning had an idea of what it was exactly they were getting into. But each person we talked to felt as if they needed help, that they couldn't do it on their own, that they tried to lose weight, they gained it back. They tried to lose weight, they gained it back. So everybody, for the most part, was looking for someone to help them lose the weight or get out of their present circumstances. I don't think we really talked to anybody who just wanted the $250,000. It got to be something, as they were making towards the end, and they were like, hang on a second, like I could really win this money. For the most part, people really wanted to lose the weight and to better their lives.
Yeah. Or I think, as my dad would have said, there's easier ways of making $250,000 than to do something like that.
So.
Right. And I think we kind of already talked about sort of this naivete that we all had about that time period. I guess I think one thing that struck me, and I understand where it comes from, but I kind of lost count of the number of times one of the former contestants said, I just need to put myself first, and it has many different layers to it, right? I mean, what that means, but it did come up quite a bit.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think that, another thing that many of the contestants talked about as well was this feeling of being invisible and this feeling of like not being given the respect that they deserve. So I think that this idea of putting themselves first, of really being okay with taking the spotlight or being okay with saying no to someone, I think that was something that they all didn't quite do enough in their lives. And this idea that being healthy and taking care of your body can actually be putting yourself first was something that was a little bit foreign. And so it was something that they felt the TV show could give them. And so they went out and they auditioned for it.
Yeah. And I think that was one set of contestants even said, look, because there was this thing, we'll maybe talk about this in a minute, where every year the people were getting bigger and bigger, right? Because, we're having to ratchet things up, I guess. And a couple of the contestants said, well, and were asked, why would we want you on? You're not that obese. But they were saying, well, but we are a representative of 95% of the people who are obese. And there are millions of people trying to do the very same thing. They're just not maybe doing it on TV or doing it to these extremes, but they are battling these issues, which your documentary really, the series really raises very well. I mean, the body image and how to deal with it and wanting to do, and at the same time understanding that you get to a certain level, it is unhealthy, right? So they do want to improve their lives. Yet at the same time, this world collides with TV, right? And TV executives and producers and things, which you have on as well. And so I guess one of the other questions is, what does it mean to entertain?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he said, really, I want to watch this because I want to see if anybody gained the weight back. And I'm like, really? Is that why you want to watch this? So it's this really, I think, ugly part of ourselves. That part of it, is ugly part of ourselves, right? That's the reason why you would want to watch something like this. And for me, I think that people want to see something that is ultimately thought of as being good. I mean, I don't think we necessarily seek our entertainment to make us feel bad. I don't, at least. I look for entertainment that makes me feel better, or that makes me feel like there is some light, or there is some hope. And I think that's what the TV show was aiming to do. And I think it actually kind of succeeded.
Right.
Really warped, really sort of wearing blinders kind of way. But I know that 20 years after the fact, when I talked to people, they said they were inspired, and they looked at the contestants on the television, and they saw themselves that were 50 to 100 pounds overweight, or maybe some of them bigger than that. And they saw that it was possible in a very short amount of time, and they found inspiration with that. And so that, I think, was part of the entertainment. But more than that, it's like watching a train wreck. And that's why we watch reality TV now. It's watch some of this is because we just can't believe what's happening in front of us. And I think that was a big part of The Biggest Loser as well. And that was the entertainment element of The Biggest Loser, was seeing people collapse on the treadmill, seeing people throwing up. I mean, whoever thought that seeing so many people throw up would be considered entertainment? But it was. And audiences came back every week to watch it.
Well, yeah, and as you also show and document, it wasn't just them in a gym for 8 hours. They were doing these really bizarre sort of stunts, right? And typical of the era. Oh, well, it seems like typical of the era of I don't even know how to describe some of these things, but just crazy things that they were making them do and it was obviously all with entertainment in mind.
It was with entertainment in mind, and I always look at it and think it was also with this circus in mind. Like all of these physical challenges have these brightly colored rings and slides and all of these different things. All of the contestants are in these like bright primary colored shirts, and so there's this extra level of creating this circus and creating these physical challenges that they're supposed to win in order to get some kind of advantage. And with each of those physical challenges, again, like some of them take a certain amount of stamina and a certain amount of mindset for sure. But is it something that is helping them create healthy habits? Probably not. It's something that's really, really, really much more about the gameplay.
And what responsibilities I guess maybe things have changed and they are taking more and more steps in this regard, but what are the responsibilities of producers and TV execs and these sort of, I mean, they've obviously got their jobs to do. They're entertaining us, but at the same time, they've got people here who many are vulnerable, who they're putting out there in front of us to watch, I mean.
Yeah, I think the responsibilities are if they're putting people in dangerous situations, to do everything they can to protect them, and to put them into situations that aren't as dangerous as could happen to Tracy on the first episode when we see her collapse on the beach at the end of episode 1. That's a situation that was probably too dangerous, and to really look at these these challenges that they're putting people through, because there are other challenges that they did that didn't have such dangerous outcomes. So
Right.
really kind of, I guess, equate a little bit what the TV value is to find ways of creating challenges that are healthy. But look, I feel like people wouldn't watch it. So it is,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so their responsibilities to the contestant are in complete opposition to their responsibilities to the audience.
But it does. I mean, I was wondering to myself as well. Would this get made? I mean, you can always ask this question: would this get made now? But I don't know if this would get made now because we're in this permanently online world, right? So
Yeah.
people are doing not exactly this, but people are living their lives online in front of us on YouTube, everywhere, 24/7. You don't need
Yeah.
to tune in once a week, right?
No, exactly. And there are many influencers out there. There are many people out there who have these approaches to life that are not healthy, that have millions and millions of followers, you know. So I don't think the show could be made today, or at least not in its incarnation, because there are just so many problems with it and so many ways that some of the contestants were being treated that I think is just not great.
Right.
But at the same time, we still have a multi-billion-dollar industry surrounding weight loss. People are still buying the diet. They're not so much books anymore. They're subscription plans to
Right.
help us lose weight, to help us stay exercising. We're following influencers who are telling us their little tricks. We're going out and getting Ozempic and
Yeah.
looking for that magic bullet again, right? So that billion-dollar industry has not shrunk. That billion-dollar industry has more than grown since The Biggest Loser was on the air.
Well, exactly, and that's what I was thinking as well. So what the other question this raised, I mean, you're many, many great things to ponder in this doc, but what does it mean to be healthy, right? And so as you say, we're spending billions, if not probably trillions, right, of dollars, and we're no closer to cracking this problem, right? I think as you had a title at the end of episode 3, when the series started, it was about 33% obesity rate in the United States. It's now 45%. So, a reality stroke game TV stroke game show didn't solve the issue. I mean, and it's not just being healthy. I mean, we are in a world, people are going to look at back another 20 years from now and look back and everyone's going to be talking about wellness, right? And things like that. What are we talking about? What does it mean? What does it mean to be well? What does it mean to be happy? And I think feels like we're nowhere closer.
I agree with you. I don't think we're anywhere close to that. And I think how we perceive people and these dialogues that we have is a big part of it. I think we have to look at ourselves and change our perceptions and change the way we move through this world and how we view people who are moving through this world next to us. I think we've got to stop thinking about these companies, these weight loss places, in terms of legal matters. Like a lot of people say, oh, well, we're going to change our name. We don't want to be Weight Watchers anymore. We don't want that sort of to go along with us. So we're going to change our name, but we're not going to change our approach. We're not going to change our messaging. And so really finding ways to be happy and to be healthy doesn't mean to be skinny. I mean, you look at Bob Harper, he had a heart attack when he was 52 years old.
Well, exactly.
He's a health nut. He's in incredible shape. He is healthy, but he still had a heart attack.
Right.
So just because you're thin and work out every day doesn't mean you're not going to have a heart attack. And just because you carry more pounds on you doesn't mean you're unhealthy. So I think it really is redefining what health and happiness is on a very individual level, but also in the way that we go out and we experience the world.
Yeah. And so how did you become involved with this project?
Oh, this was a conversation. It's interesting because Boardwalk was on board and Netflix and we all sort of started having a conversation and sort of figuring out what the best team to tell this story was. And I worked closely with Lana Barkin and Micah Sparrow, and it was just a great little force that was happening there. And then as we started reaching out to contestants and people to participate, it was just sort of became this really, really great little show.
Yeah. And we had you on for Girl in the Picture, and I remember then, I won't, I'm paraphrasing, but you said you were drawn to stories you can't completely get your head around. And what was it about this that you didn't necessarily get your head around, at least at first, when you were starting the journey on this project?
I think it really was how blind we were 20 years ago,
Right.
like and I was too. I watched the show, and when I was first approached to direct this show, I I was like, well, what was so bad about The Biggest Loser? And I really had to
Right.
take a step back and kind of go back and watch some. And as soon as I started watching those episodes, I was like, oh, I didn't experience it then. I see
Right.
what's bad about it.
Right.
And I know that now, but I didn't then. And then that was sort of inexplicable, because I also feel like it informed the way that I moved through my weight loss journey. Look, I've always had issues with my body too. I've gained weight, I've lost weight. And so that was something that was compelling to me, to sort of unpack this weight loss a little bit more. And the fact that it was reality TV and weight loss was even more interesting. But I think that's what was the most confounding to me, is that my memories of the show were very tunnel vision kind of memories of the show. And as soon as I started watching it again now, I was like, oh wow, how did I not see this before?
Right. That's interesting, actually. Memory is a very interesting one, because I just think even like, well, we were, and I remember as a little kid, my parents having movies they wanted us to watch and say, oh, this is the funniest movie I've ever seen. And you watch it. And seeing it as a little kid and laughing with them, and then seeing it 20 years later and going, oh my goodness, I can't believe we actually watched this, or it was allowed to be out on TV. And yeah, I think we all have, it gets, let's face it, if it weren't for nostalgia, a lot of docs wouldn't get made. I mean, we do have these glowing memories of whatever it is, childhood, youth, young adulthood, and then if we seldom do shine a light back on those and really think about what some of the stuff that we were enjoying. But it's not everything looking backwards is not always, looks worse in a bad light. Some things back then might have been better than they are now, but but that in particular, no, that's very interesting.
Fascinating. I mean, memories are so fluid, and it's certainly, I think, sort of a great self-reflection to kind of look back on things and really question, what it was that you took forward with you, and how those memories are filled out in your mind, and why those memories are filled out that way in your mind. It's fascinating.
Well, and even just, it's almost, back to your true crime background as well, but, you're interviewing people and they all, oh, I don't remember that conversation, or, someone accuses someone of, were there some drugs used in the show or not? No, we never had that conversation. I wasn't aware of it. Oh, I'm very well aware. It's kind of he said, she said sometimes about what we remember, and it's all very interesting in how people take such different perspectives, or have such different experiences from the same experience.
Yeah.
It's and what was the biggest challenge in making this doc?
Oh, I think the biggest challenge was really, encapsulating 17 seasons of The Biggest Loser into 3 pretty tight, pretty fast moving episodes, and trying to really, tease out all of the important topics, and to really talk about the different elements of The Biggest Loser that are really relevant today, and really relevant to anybody's personal weight loss journey. There's reality TV that we talk about, there's pharmaceuticals that we talk about, there's shaming, there's blaming, there's inspiration, there's all of these different elements. And so I think really taking a show that lasted for 17 seasons and taking a critical look at it and doing that in 3 episodes was probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree it's fast moving, and also, 17 seasons. So in some ways, as we're talking about, it was, the early days of reality. It was also the sort of ending years of reality TV kind of mixed in with it as well. So, no, I think it's very compelling watching, and like I said, it gets you contemplating a lot of things and how we're going to, all these issues that are coming still with us and probably will always be with us, and how we can deal with it. And so thank you again for making it. I really, really appreciate it. And what's next for you? Because, last time we had you 3 years ago, and then I don't know how many projects you've been on between the last 3 or 4 years, and you've got another Netflix one, I think, that's dropped or about to.
About to, yeah. At the end of August, I have
Unknown Caller.
Number, the high school catfish is going to drop. So,
yeah.
So I'm keeping busy for sure, and there's a few in the future.
Well, I think is there anything you can tell us about in the future besides that one?
Not really. There's one I have coming out kind of at the end of the year. I can't say much about that one quite yet, but there will be another one. I think it's coming out in December. We don't have an air date yet.
Okay. Well, we'll certainly be watching and waiting for that one. Certainly our listeners and viewers will. You get a lot of engagement. That last episode you had, there's even to this day people are leaving comments about it and following your career. So we do look eagerly towards getting you on again sometime and make it a third time on the show. So thank you so much. It's been just an honor and thrilled to talk to you. So thanks so much, Skye Borgman. Just to remind everyone, we're talking with the award-winning director of Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser, streaming now on Netflix. Check it out. And please like the episode and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and remember to ring the bell to be notified of future episodes. Skye, thanks again, and it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for listening to Factual America. Please subscribe and like us and share us with friends and family. Find us on YouTube, social media, and factualamerica.com. This is Matthew Sherwood, signing off.